Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
The currency of real networking is not greed, but generosity. Keith Ferrazzi. Greetings, my peak performers. How are you doing today? I trust that you're having a great day. Welcome to episode 127 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter. Today's episode is with Jon Talarico. Jon is among the world's foremost experts on building relationships that yield amazing results for his clients. Jon has worked directly with some of today's most powerful and influential business and thought leaders, celebrities, and more importantly, people just like yourself looking for a way to connect and create a life of your dream. I'm looking forward to this conversation on leveraging the power of your network with Jon Talarico. Welcome, Jon.
Thank you, Heneka. I'm so excited to be here. Welcome, Jamaica. And really excited for this.
Awesome. And what's your favorite thing about Jamaica? I first met you right here in Jamaica.
Yeah, you saw me. I spoke there with the legendary Les Brown.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So the people of Jamaica, I think, is my favorite thing. Just the kind-hearted spirit, always striving to be the best that they could be. Just a warm, wonderful country. And yeah, I love it there. I love the people.
All right. So I'm happy that you had a great time. We had a great time welcoming you here. And I'm really happy that you're on this podcast with me. So we're going to just go right into having this conversation on leveraging the power of your network, because your story is pretty much one that depicts that power and how much we can leverage it to win in our everyday lives. Now, tell us a little about your journey.
Sure, Heneka. Well, I actually grew up in Michigan. I'll give you the short version, kind of blue-collar town. Mom was on food stamps, welfare. They got divorced when I was 7. So that was at a time kind of when divorce wasn't really
a thing
popular back then. Yeah, exactly. So, by 7, I was kind of a bit embarrassed of my upbringing. By age 12, I had started drinking. Around age 9, for about 2 years, I had some really horrific things happen to me by a woman who was entrusted to take care of me, and that she did not do. I like to speak to people who have been through some hardships. I know a lot of people have gone through some things, and so I understand that. And fast forward a bit, I realized later on in life that kind of when I hit rock bottom around 2009, was working for one of the top internet marketing guys, and I thought I had the dream job and realized that it was not all it seemed. So I actually ended up living out of a motel with my wife and 2 dogs, kind of homeless. We didn't have a job, we're broke. And that's when it kind of hit me that, I wasn't going to go out like this. My life wasn't going to be defined by this, and started to take an inventory of what I had. And while a lot of times we think we don't have things, we have some of the most important assets in our life, which are our relationships, family and friends and work. So from that is where we're at today. And I've been able to build some amazing relationships and leverage those contacts all over the world. Been able to travel to 36 countries, 5 continents in the last few years, and just met with some amazing, amazing people, and helped a lot of people realize that they can live the life of their dreams.
So you've had a not so glorious life, right? In the beginning. In the beginning. And you mentioned that a while ago, you could have been very bitter, right? You could have taken that stance and been very bitter and just and the world owes you everything. But you just said something that is absolutely very profound, Jon. And it's that we think sometimes we think we don't have, but what we have is so much more. And you talked about, you alluded to relationships. And I want you to expound a little bit more on the power of relationships.
When I was at my lowest point, I saw a quote one day. I was going to Starbucks every single day. Everyone sets up their office there, and I kept seeing the same people every day. We'll see you tomorrow. And I'm walking home one day, and I saw this quote from Marcus Aurelius. It said, the thing to progress, what stands in the way becomes the way. And I that hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, whoa, I have become the problem in my own way. I'm blaming people and angry and becoming the victim. And I realized at that moment that my life was not going to be defined by this. So I took an inventory of what I had in my life, and which was I made a list of all the relationships that I had: family, friends, work associates, college people. And that's when I started to realize that by reaching out to my relationships, the existing ones, it's like an inventory, like you have if you have a business. These are very valuable things, and people want to help each other. At the end of the day, everybody just wants a better life. And you find at the core, most people want to just help other people. It gives them great satisfaction. And for me, I love helping people. So it's also important to be able to ask for help when you're down and out. So many people these days, they don't speak up. We have to deal with bullying and people who've gone through some horrific things. And it's important that you find your voice and have the courage and the confidence to at least speak up, even if it's to one person. And so then I started speaking up to my network, my relationships. And by taking action, sometimes we don't know what the next step should be. And so we don't do anything. We get paralyzed, whether it be by fear, by doubt, by negativity, by blaming, by being a victim. But once you take that first step, and maybe you don't realize where you're headed, but at least you do something. And you reach out to your network, you reach out to these relationships and say, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is what I want to do. Maybe is there anything you can do to help me? The universe, they reward people who take action. And so when that started to happen, it was amazing what started to unfold in my life. I started getting phone calls from people who said, hey, can you do this for me? And that's really where my life took off, is when I actually reached out to my network. And actually, let me back up a little, Heneka. The most important thing is when you're reaching out to people is to offer value first. So a lot of times we're in those places of desperation and where we really think, oh, but you don't understand, I need to pay the bills next month. And if I'm volunteering or giving away my time or my thoughts or my ideas for free, that's not going to pay my bills. But what happens is something very amazing. And I've seen it over and over again in my life, a lot of my friends' life, a lot of my clients, is that when you give without expecting anything in return, without having an agenda, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, rewards you. And you will be amazed at what happens in your life and the things that you start to manifest.
Well, okay. So you've said a lot of nuggets right there, like a lot of powerful nuggets. Like at the core, so some of the things that you said, like at the core, people want to help others, right? People, and I genuinely believe that people are genuinely nice people, at the core, until whatever it is triggers something else. Right. Yes. Another important thing you talked about was asking for help. A lot of us, we need to get to the next level, whatever that is. But we are afraid or too prideful, and our ego gets in the way of asking for help. Right. Yes. The quote that you also mentioned is, what stands in the way becomes the way, right? There are just so many nice things that you've said right there that we could take this conversation in a whole different direction and talk about so many other things. But I'm going to try and bring it back,
Yes.
And focus on, because you said something, also importantly, give without expecting anything in return, or, so we know, and well, let me not even preface it. How do you do that when everybody right now, Jon, seemingly is so parasitic? It's all about I am in a situation where I know some person will help me because of my particular standing, and it's not a genuinely place of wanting to help. Yes, we know that when we give, it will come right back to us, right? And it may not come from the persons who we would have given to, but it comes right back. So there is no need to be parasitic. But how can you prevent yourself from being that parasite and even becoming that parasite?
Yes. Well, I experience it all the time, Heneka. A lot of my clients, a lot of my friends are very famous celebrities and, athletes and actors and all that. And so I get approached a lot because, and it's always, most of the time with ill intentions, because they have an agenda. So the first thing that you need to do, I think, is you need to have clarity. And really you have to have, I like to say the word act. The first thing is awareness and clarity. You need to be aware and clear about what it is you want for your life. Then you start to look at the relationships around you and in your life and see, okay, who would best help me be able to get to my goal. Then I want you to set that aside for a minute and see, okay, these are the key people that might be able to help me get where I want to get. But what is important to them? What kind of things could I do to be of value? You have to let go of any expectation, Heneka, of anything that results, because maybe that's not how you're going to get to where you want to go. But by being of service, certain things will happen. Certain people will come into your life. And I know this because I've tried it both ways. And I did it the kind of hustling way. And it doesn't work because your intentions aren't pure. And the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, does not reward those things that are not authentic. So I've tried the other way. It doesn't work. Now, when I did it the way you discussed, where I gave value first and without expecting anything in return. I'll give you a great example and how I ended up in Bob Proctor. A lot of you know him from The Secret, one of for me, the greatest teacher around. I wanted to build a relationship with Bob because I loved his teaching. I followed his work for years, and I started going to some of his seminars. I started paying attention to what was important to Bob. Well, he loves this song. It's going to be a bright, bright, sunshiny day, Johnny Nash. And I actually hunted him down. He's a recluse. That was kind of his one hit, and he doesn't do public appearances. But I hunted him down in Texas, and took me 6 months. But I got him to agree to autograph an album for Bob Proctor for his 80th birthday. Now, Bob didn't know me yet, but I had that album sent back to me, and I made it very easy for them. Included the postage, the marker, the letter, everything was done. And I had it framed. And at one of Bob's seminars, I dropped it off at the front desk. And from that was about 4 years ago, I now, a few months ago, ended up at Bob's house where he was giving me a testimonial for my course. Now, when I gave him that, sure, I would love a relationship with Bob and somehow to be in his inner circle and all that. But I was okay if that did not happen because I genuinely wanted to do something that would touch this person's life. And so when you think of something unique, that something, a lot of the people that we want to connect with are already very wealthy. They're already very famous. So how can you be different? How can you be genuine where you want to do something for that person, and then you let go of any expectations, because then that's not pure giving. That's an agenda, and that never works. So if I could say anything to your listeners, it's find out something that means a lot to the people you want to work with, and then do something kind. You don't want to buy people, but you can do things that touch people's lives for next to nothing. And when you start to give and have gratitude every day, then the right people will start to come into your life. The right situations, the right circumstances will be created for you, and you will be amazed at how quickly you're on your path to the life of your dreams. I'm
even having this conversation. I personally become very annoyed when I know persons want to connect with me simply because of my network. I mean, I understand that after time you build relationships and these things happen by default, right? So no need to try and get with me simply because I don't like that. And I don't think we should practice that. So I am glad that you're on here. You're right here with me talking about leveraging the power of our network and how to do it without, becoming seemingly just opportunistic, right?
Yes.
And
exactly.
Aim for that relationship that it's all about, you're investing in people. We know we all want something because everybody's tuned into what WIIFM, what's in it for me, right? Everybody's tuned into that radio station apparently. But at the same time, when you're able to add value, think about giving value first, and things will come, and don't give it necessarily, because you want to always extract, but just give and it will come right back to you, because God indeed honors authenticity. And I love that you're talking about that. Now, how do you find opportunities quickly? You talked about when you had to look at your life and you made a list of all your relationships and so on, and how you go from there. How do you find those opportunities? Where do you even look for them? Right.
Heneka, the first thing we have to do, and the first place we have to look is, instead of looking outside, we need to look inside, because so many of us think that we know what we want. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners, most of them are all entrepreneurs, and everyone loves the book Think and Grow Rich. But if you ask most people if they've read that book, you'll see all the hands go up. 99% of the people, I'm sure 99% of your listeners will say, yes, that's an amazing book. But then you ask, how many people actually do the 6 steps that he talks about, which are guaranteed to prove a life of riches? And that is a clearly defined goal with a set time frame, and you read it to yourself morning and night, and you'll see maybe 1 or 2 hands go up. So we have to be able to look in the mirror. And it took me a long time to be able to look myself in the mirror, because I just, a lot of us have been through some things and we allow that to consume us. And like you said earlier, the ego goes where it's comfortable. It doesn't want you to step out and change people's lives. It doesn't want you to change your life because it's safe and comfortable where it's at. And where that is usually negativity or a life of regret or doubt or victimhood or fear. And so by looking inside and saying, okay, look, this is my goal. This is what I really want. Bob Proctor talks about your C-level goal, which is something completely out of the realm of what you think is possible, but it is definitely attainable. So you get clear on your goal. Then you start to reverse engineer who can help you, who in your network can help you. And if you don't have the network, I talk a lot about something I call 2 people remove, where I really believe this, and I've done it and shown people that I can get to anybody in the world through 1 or 2 of my connections. So you start to look at maybe a great site is LinkedIn, and you can see who's connected to the person you want to get to. And if you don't have the relationship, and if they don't have the relationship, maybe that they have a relationship to someone else that can help you. So you kind of reverse engineer your network and who you need to get to. Then you got to do research, Heneka. A lot of people they don't put in the time. They complain. They spend a lot of time on social media and they say they're very busy. But then you need to do research about the people that you want to do business with, because you never know when you're going to get an opportunity. And so you want to know, you want to put yourself in situations. Also, you want to go to events, go to seminars, go to these different things, but be well armed, be well researched so that you know what's important. So when that opportunity does present itself, let's say a Les Brown walks by you in the hall, Mr. Brown, how are you? I listened to this. I know you're doing this. How's your health? The little things are what are going to make you stand out and be unique.
Absolutely right. And I remember when at that Les Brown conference, so I actually interviewed him, and it was it was a brief moment, but it was a great interview. And
Yes.
last week on the podcast, my guest Terry Durer, she talked about being successful in business is an inside job, and you pretty much just mentioned a while ago too about success with anything is an inside job. You first have to look within, and so get clear what it is that you really want. And once you have that clarity, who it is that can help you to to get to that goal, then we take it from there. Now, you've mentioned about just jumping back a little to some of the successes you've had leveraging the power of your network and just reaching out. And I want you mentioned a little about Bob Proctor. But if there's any other examples of how you've been able to travel the world and get connected. In fact, one of the things that even triggered me to have this conversation with you, because I remember meeting you right here at the Les Brown conference. And then when I read Anik Singh's new book, and he was saying some things about you in the book, he said, you know what? It's just confirmation. Let me just have this conversation with Jon. So,
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Give us some other examples of you leveraging the power of your network.
Sure, Heneka. I have for the last 8 years become business partners with Akon. I'm sure most all your listeners know him. I've traveled around the world with him. That came out of a phone call, and someone asked me if I could bring him to India. Now, I didn't know him, but through what I teach and through what I talk about, I was able to get him there. Yeah, now we will actually be down in Brazil in October. We'll be back in India in December. So, and I'm partners. And when I talk about my relationships, I'm not running and taking a selfie and all these photos a lot of people like to post. These are people that I can call directly, and I have their number. These are because of what I teach. They're genuine relationships, partnerships, and business relationships. Les Brown asked me to come run his company for a couple of years. So I went in there and helped him get things sorted out. I have a great relationship with Les. I was able to, a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, love cricket, even though we having a rough time in the World Cup down there with the West Indies. But probably one of the few Americans you'll find who loves cricket. I lived in Trinidad for a year, and I was able to put together a deal and bought the Trinidad and Tobago cricket team when they launched the CPL League. I was co-owner of that with Leica Mobile from England. I put that whole deal together in 6 weeks with no idea how I was going to do it. But because of what I believe and what I teach and the mindset principles I use, that deal was done in 6 weeks, a $25 million franchise. I became co-owner of that. A lot of clients in Bollywood. One of my favorite clients is Brian Lara. You all know him.
Oh, yeah.
I still do a lot of stuff with Brian. Spoke to him this morning. He's over in India for the World Cup. So Brian Lara, I've produced 2 feature films. We raised $4.5 million for that. Another client, I have several billionaire clients. One of them owns a football club in India. and several clients in Bollywood, several clients in music. But some of my favorite clients are people who aren't celebrities or people you won't read about on the internet, Heneka, but people who actually have been through some hard times and who have been close to giving up. And through what I teach and through a course that I've put out there, and I've been able to help them get back on track, to know that they have great value, to know that it's something I call the million in you, that $1 million gift. Each one has that special $1 million DNA, where we have our unique gift that's unique to each and every one of us, to give and bring to the world and to transform our lives and the lives of people that we come in contact with. And so those are the most special people for me, the ones who I touch by my message, to know that I can give them hope. And by sharing my story, by being authentic, I share openly about what I've been through in my life and what I've been able to overcome. So whether they've been through emotional, physical, or psychological abuse or any kind of other stuff, that there's always hope, no matter where you are at in the world, no matter what age you are, color, race, ethnicity, doesn't matter. But everyone has a unique gift.
Anytime you mention India, it's like a light bulb. Something goes off in my head, because I'm so in love with that country, having spent 2 months there in 2018. And so you talked about, of course, you doing stuff you brought Akon to India, was it? And you're doing all these amazing things with these names that are known. But you did also allude to the fact that you work with people who are not as known. They just want a better life, and they want to construct a better life. And so you can help them to do that. I'm going to ask you how it is that persons can construct this better life, and perhaps you can segue into the course that you have that can help persons to do that.
Sure, Heneka. Well, in my course and in the webinar, I teach kind of a masterclass. I teach people that they have to master these 3 steps to change their life. And the first step that I talk about is really what I call mastering the mirror, where we have to get honest with ourselves, and we have to be able to look in the mirror. For years, I would, even wash my face on an angle because I was so ashamed of my life and how things turned out. So we have to have complete acceptance for what we've been through and where we're at in our life. You have to take an honest inventory of where things stand. And then being able to look at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, my past does not define me, and the future does not define me. But today, what action can I take today? Those are 2 days that we should never worry about ever, which is yesterday and tomorrow. We should just focus on today, one day at a time. But you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. It doesn't matter what's happened to me, where I've been. So you master the mirror. The second thing you need to do is you need to take an inventory of your network, like we talked about earlier, and really have clarity about what it is you want, and then start to figure out who in your network can help you get to what you want. And I go into much greater detail in this. I know we're short on time. And the third step is really where you need to change your mindset. I talk about in the training, we've all been to a lot of seminars. We go to all these things. We get all fired up. We get back home and everything goes right back to how it was. And we all want a better life. We know that if we do certain steps, most of us do. If we just change a few things, we can have the life that we want, but most of us don't ever do it. And so I've just been obsessed with trying to understand why, even in my own life, why, if I know I do these things, I can get to the promised land, so to speak. And yet, why don't I? And like you said earlier, it's the ego, and it's something I call the minefield, that gap between where we're at and where we want to be. And so you have to have awareness and recognize what it is that's been holding you back. Usually it's either fear, doubt, blame, being a victim. So the first step is awareness. Then this is what I talk about when I say you have to act. Awareness. The C is choices. Now you have to start to make some other choices, because that ego will fight you so hard, Heneka. It does not want you to change. It wants you just to go through life miserable, unhappy, have regret, and like what could have been. And it wants you to stay safe. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to play huge and to make a difference in the world, each and every one of us. And the most important thing, the T, is thanks. Give thanks. You have to have gratitude. We talked about a lot of my celebrity clients and all this stuff, and it was great. I've been able to travel around the world, private jets and all that wonderful stuff. But what really transformed and changed my life is when I started to have gratitude every morning and give back. And I now volunteer a lot with an organization called the Starkey Hearing Foundation. We went to the Dominican Republic and gave hearing aids to 1,600 kids. I just was able to bring them to Trinidad a year ago. And when I was able to put that hearing aid on a little 7-year-old boy who had never heard sound before in his life, it changed my life. No longer did all these fancy parties and planes and all these stuff. That didn't matter anymore. I realized at that moment that this is what was important. So we have to have gratitude. We have to remember that we have to be thankful each and every morning, and that's the way we need to start our day and give back. And so from that, like you mentioned, Heneka, I've created a course. If everyone wants to go check it out at millionindyou.com/free training, if you go in the chat box and you just put the words Heneka in there, I want to do something very special for your listeners. All I ask for is that they go through the course and give me a review, but I will send them a coupon code, Heneka, where they can have the course for free. I want to do that for you and for the people of Jamaica. I just ask, once you go through it, give me an honest review. I'd love to hear the feedback of the course. And really, in that course, you're going to learn everything that we talked about today on the podcast in much greater detail. How to look at where you're at in your life, how to change your mindset, how to evaluate and find your network, how to use that network, how to leverage it, how to give back, how to adopt the two people removed mindset. And something which I think has helped me stand out from most people is something I call little things for big connections. How to do those little things that will make a lasting impression on other people.
Amazing. Master the mirror. Take inventory of your network and change your mindset.
Yes.
In a nutshell, that is essentially what you've said in the last few minutes. It has been such a pleasure speaking with you, Jon. And I know you mentioned the website that we can get the free course, but we also want to give you this opportunity to just mention we're on social media that we can find you.
Sure. On Facebook, it's Jon Talarico, JONTALARICO. Same on Instagram as well.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. My guest has been Jon Talarico, and I thank you, Jon, and wish you all the success as you continue to give back and you continue to help persons to extract opportunities from their global network and construct the life that they may think is impossible.
Thank you, Heneka, and really grateful to you and grateful to all the amazing stuff you're doing there for the people of Jamaica and around the world, really, to change lives. And anything I can do to help, I'm always here for you. Thank you, Heneka, for having me.
You're very welcome. And thank you, my peak performer, for tuning in to this episode with Jon Talarico. I absolutely look forward to connecting with you next week. Until next time, visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com for courses, blogs, and binge on past episodes of the podcast, get resources, and so much more. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. What good?
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mahfood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Attention! LeaderCast Women is an inspirational one-day leadership event featuring renowned female leaders. Male and female audience members alike will leave LeaderCast Women with the tools they need to become leaders worth following. Attend the event via simulcast at Knutsford Court Hotel on October 18. To learn more, visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com or call 849-2571.